Welcome to the Play Their Way podcast, where we talk about all things in child first coaching. I'm your host, Laura Jane Jones, and today I'm excited to welcome our very special guest, Sarah Hunter. Welcome, Sarah. Great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Really happy to be joining you this afternoon.
Sarah Hunter is a Rugby World Cup winning former England captain turned Red Roses coach and a very familiar face and voice for me, so it's a delight to have you on. I'm really excited. And you are fresh from maternity leave. You welcomed your little girl Olivia to the world last year, and whilst this might be an odd starting point considering you're new to the mum role and just going back to work, how do you think that this is going to change your perspectives as a coach?
I think hugely. I think it changes your perspective and outlook on life. And I've spent a bit of time reflecting whilst I've been off. It's probably the longest time I've had away from the game, probably since I've started playing. So it's been really great from that side of things. And like obviously having your own child, and now like I'm almost coaching her like now as a 6-month-old in terms of how she is doing things, in terms of holding things, sitting up, learning to crawl, like learning to eat, and the way you talk to them and the way you think that actually like you want them to be treated by someone else. And then that's made me genuinely think, well, how am I coaching? How am I talking to someone? How am I trying to get the best out of them? How would I want Olivia to be treated? Is she enjoying what she's doing? Like she goes to nursery and it's now thinking about, well, I know she's in a great nursery and she'll be well looked after, but it's all those interactions that they're having with her. Are they understanding when she may be a bit sad and what they're going to do to comfort her, or are they letting her explore and pushing the boundaries to find a little bit more? And I do think, even though it's been a small part of time, that I think it will have a big influence on like how I go back into coaching, even if it ends up being subconscious, I think.
Olivia's only, 6 months or so old, 7 months old?
Yeah.
So at the moment, she's not talking, but obviously one of those key pillars of Play Their Way is voice. Do you think it's going to make you even more sensitive to looking for social cues with those that you're coaching, because you're used to looking for them in Olivia now because she can't tell you what they are?
Oh, 100%. I think a really good coach has a really good awareness of picking up on those. So they might be saying one thing, but their body, their tone, their behaviours are saying completely other thing. And I think whilst you might like think you're attuned to them, I do think having a 6-month-old that you're trying to guess what it is they want and what it is that they need, is that it does heighten those, because they're expressing their feelings and how they are through sound, through movement, through like what they're doing with their body. And I do hope that trying to read a 6-month-old will help when I go back into Red Roses and have to coach some of those players.
When you think about your coaching experiences with the Red Roses, when you are coaching younger players and there might be challenges that they're experiencing, do you look at them through the eyes of a former Red Rose or through a younger player, the younger Sarah Hunter, and how she felt in those situations?
I think I try to do both, because I think it's really important to have that perspective, because I guess as a like former player, you have a way of what you need to do. But equally, I think we talk about Play Their Way in terms of choice, voice and journey. I don't think it's too dissimilar from looking at how you like approach your coaching to a child, to a Red Roses player. So there's been multiple times where player will come and say, oh, I really enjoyed that element of training, can we do more of it next time? Or I didn't quite we didn't do enough of, I don't know, wingers defending on an edge in a big space because we've been doing little spaces. Can we do more? And so you're listening to what they want, hearing them, and trying to go back and say, well, actually, yeah, no, I know you want to do it in a bit more of a fun game. We need to get the technical element ready. Or actually, thanks for telling me. I'll make sure I incorporate that next time. That's really good feedback. So they're being heard, they're being listened to, and that's not really any different, I think, from what you might do from a children's perspective, maybe just on different levels of like detail and intensity and all that sort of thing. But in terms of, we all play sport. Like, you look at the research out there, and it's to have fun, it's to enjoy it. And I'm a big believer is that that should be exactly the same as a child as it is in the Red Roses camp. Like, why are we doing it if we're not enjoying it? And as a coach, we have the absolute gateway to ensuring that, like, those Red Roses turn up and want to be there, they're enjoying it, they're having fun. Yes, not every element is going to be fun for each and every one, because we've got a lot of personalities in that, and what one person likes another person doesn't. But I think in general, the same principles do apply for children and senior international players.
I don't want to drill down too much into the individuals in your team, because that's not fair and it makes it sound like I'm doing my research for the Rugby World Cup. But when we talk about girls like perhaps Lily Ives Campion, who's one of the younger girls in that squad, she perhaps will have experienced this strategy of play their way and voice choice and journey as a younger player, to have come through a different concept of coaching over the past few years. Do you see a difference between someone like her to a Marley Packer, who is 15 years her senior, in the way that they go about their business in that environment?
Yeah, I think so. I think like me, Marley, Emily Scarrett, Natasha Hunt probably have come from like a journey of people's coaching, from the days where you just get told you're doing this, and you do it and you get on with it, and that's how it is. Whereas someone like, you look like, say, Lily Ives Campion, who's come through like people who have been on different coaching journeys and had like different research, and people inform the coaches that they've had about actually what gets the best out of them. And I do think there is a difference, but I do think you look at some of those more older hats, shall we say, and I think they appreciate now having a different perspective and having a different thought of what coaching can be. And it's not to say that what has been was bad and was what's wrong, but we learn, we develop, and we move on. And I think the research behind coaching and coaching in young people has like increased significantly, and therefore people are more exposed to having different ideas and different ways of doing it, which I think we see nowadays. And I do think it brings out, probably especially in the women's game, I think it brings out their self-confidence more. I think it brings out their ability in themselves and what they're doing, and how they learn best. And yeah, it's not saying that how coaches have been before. I've certainly been influenced by very much like, this is how we do it, and it got I benefit from it. I thought I learned a lot from it. But equally, I've seen now on the flip side how you can maybe use like a balance of both, and how you evolve on your coaching journey as well, because you are heavily influenced by the coaches that you have had. But as I've got older and been exposed to more, learn a bit more, being open to being a bit more open-minded about the styles of coaching, and equally what gets the best out of the people that you're coaching.
You kind of touched on there, but how much are you impassioned by great coaching experiences that you had as a child and a young person?
Oh, I, for this day, go back to the first coaching session I had. And the reason I still play, I don't play anymore. The reason I played for literally nearly 30 years was because of that very first coaching session, which I absolutely loved, having never touched a rugby ball in my entire life until that day, and like absolutely loving it. That has been, I think, the core of everything I try to, like, at the heart of it, base my coaching on. That if people, especially young people, and especially sport, especially rugby, sorry, and especially girls, that one session can make or break someone. So if you're not providing a fun, enjoyable, like, environment for that child, that could be them going, oh yeah, I'm going to carry on, or no, I haven't had fun, I'm going to go to a different sport, or even worse, I'm not going to play sport anymore, which in girls is really prevalent. So that has really been the heart and passion of what I would have liked to do on my coaching journey. And yes, sometimes you might fall and you might fail and that might not happen. But if you can like have that as your mantra and something to always hang your hat on and go back to, then actually when you reflect on the session that you've delivered, like it makes it easy to go, actually I got this bit wrong, or I didn't really like give them a choice today, or I didn't listen to that young boy or girl that have come to me and said that they want to do this, or I haven't explained myself of why we're doing something. So definitely that from day one has been something that I think is huge within the a child's coaching journey or experience their journey.
What about the flip side of it, though? Are there moments that you look back on as a child, a teenage girl playing rugby, coaching moments and coaching sessions that you think, that's something I never want to do, that's someone I
Yeah.
never want to be?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's potentially been moments that I guess people will experience in all walks of life, but those moments where actually what's been said, like, so you've asked a question, I'm not answering that, asking that question, so that's a silly question. Well, actually, you're never going to ask another question again. Or you've answered a question and, oh no, you've been dismissed. And it's just like, actually, again, you made it feel really small. You lose confidence in yourself and go, especially in front of peers, especially females in front of peers, and be like, all right, I'm not gonna say anything again. So moments like that, I think moments where like the way in which a coach has spoken to you, and the way it makes you feel, I think have been moments where that's made me think, oh, I wouldn't want to create an environment for people not to feel that they have got the space to express themselves, the ability to ask questions, the ability to suggest things. Even now, like I'm like to the girls, I'm like, oh, what is it that you want to work on? Is there things that you can do? Like, how can I make that session better? Because I think like it's almost a bit of a partnership. So I'm only going to get better if I get feedback from the people I'm coaching. And that feedback now will be very different to a child of 9 or 10 when I went into primary schools to coach, who are just like, oh, we just want to run around and play this game again, where it might be a bit more defined, a bit more specific on a certain area of the game. And that might be the rugby player drilled into me. I was always someone that wanted to get better. So I'd come off a rugby pitch and be like, right, what can I do differently next time? So I still try to be open to say, oh, like, what is it that we can get better, what we can do more of? And I guess when you're coaching children at the end of a session, I might finish the session being like, oh, what's it we had fun today doing? And they might be like, oh, playing chain tag, or like scoring tries, or whatever it was. It'd be like, right, now going into the following session, I'm like, right, how can I incorporate those things? So whilst they haven't necessarily given me direct feedback, just by asking them, what have they enjoyed? What is it they want to do more of? That shapes what you're going to continue to do, whilst also being able to help them get better. It's not just a case of, right, we're going to run around like in your half an hour session like mad people. There's going to be some purpose for it. But a good coach will be able to design a session which incorporates fun, but equally gets the coaching element out of it that they need to for that area.
When we're encouraging children to use their voices in these sessions, we know that that's their right to have, but sometimes they're not always forthcoming. How important is it in the early stages to create an environment of trust and safety for them so that they know that they will be heard?
Oh, like fundamental. I think that's the bottom line of any environment, is that you want to make it like a safe environment. You want to be entrusted that actually feel that they can say anything, like, because um if they don't, or that moment that that trust is broken or that safety is broken, not only is it impacting that one player, it has a ripple effect across the whole team that you're coaching. So and it can be hard at times in terms of like what may be going on in your head, especially like coaching children. It can be frustrating at times, but you just got to remember to sort of almost take a deep breath in your head, and what you actually maybe want to verbalize or do. You've got to think, well, if I was that like 9, 10 year old child, how would I react to that? And I think knowing that they've got that trust that they can say, can we do, I don't know, like piggy in the middle, or I want to play bulldog or whatever it is because of this. And it's understanding those ways of communication with them. So it might be like, yeah, we're just going to do this now, but we'll maybe play that next week. That's a really good suggestion. I really like your idea. Fill them with confidence that actually it might not be that moment right there that all of a sudden, because again, I think sport's a great way of teaching children about structure and about I guess like yeah, structure by the way in life you have to do things that you don't want to do, or you have a time frame that you have to do something in. So again, it's helping them to understand that actually at this moment in time we will do this, but knowing that they've been heard, like saying, yeah, I hear you, that's really good, like actually I'll make sure I incorporate that into the next session. So actually it's not just a blanket no, and they know they've been heard. That trust there is for them to speak up, to acknowledge the fact that they've done it, and then you can implement that the following week. And then that's when they realize that actually, yeah, like this is an environment where I can like raise problems, I can raise issues, I can make suggestions of what this coaching can be.
How do you think a child first approach to coaching is going to change athletes in the future?
I think it's really important. I think we're asking athletes now, at senior level, like at the end of the session, to give their thoughts, to give their feedback, to ask them about, like, bring ideas, to look at what they need to, like, the next opposition, thoughts around the game. So we're asking them questions, we're asking them to lead, we're asking them to deliver. You're asking them to like do things on a pitch where you've got no coaches. So if you can have that mindset of an early age, you're almost educating them like from the beginning. It's not sort of when they get to 19, 20 years old and then they've got this new concept which is alien to them that they struggle with. Whereas actually if you have it from the beginning, like they're coming to you. It's almost like a reciprocal kind of like partnership with, you're asking them questions, they're asking you questions, you're enabling them to lead themselves, to think for themselves, to express when they get frustrated by things, what they really enjoy, what they don't. But you're getting them to do it in a really positive way, which I think sometimes as you get older, that actually when they start to do it, everything's almost comes from like almost a negative point of view. Whereas if you have this approach from day one, it gives it's almost it's a positive feedback chain, if that makes sense, and it's allowing people to understand what it is they want as well. So they're developing their own mindset as well, for not just in sport but outside of life, which I think is like, again, like sport has a huge place to play in shaping people's lives and how they become like really good people.
As a woman who played sport at the highest level, you were given an opportunity to amplify your voice through sport. How important do you think that's been for the development of you as a woman away from a rugby pitch? And how important will it be for the development of girls using sport to amplify their voices?
Uh, I think, again, the age that I am and the generation I've come through, that hasn't always been the case. I didn't know England women's rugby team existed when I first started playing. There was no social media, no TV, no nothing. And I guess when you start to realise that and what there is there, and then you become part of that journey, and again, probably as a female, it feels unnatural, and I didn't necessarily feel like the space was there for me to do it, or that like it almost empowered to do it. I didn't think I was important enough to be able to do that. Whereas now I see how huge an important role that I have to play. I did have to play in that journey as a player and now as a coach, and how important hopefully that is passing down to all the young females involved in sport. And like, don't get me wrong, females in sport is like amazing and it's far greater than it's ever been before, but is it where it needs to be? Not at this moment, especially in rugby. And I think like we all have a job to ensure that we can use the platform that we have to not just empower ourselves, empower the people around us at like our age group, but empower the young players coming through, and show them the voice that they have and the power and the influence that they can have, not just on sport, but in life in general. And I think that that's huge, because if people have the power and influence to speak around sport and the passion that they have, then they're the people that are gonna change like the direction of how they are away from sport.
It's natural for me to talk to you about future athletes, but the reality of child coaching is the majority of young people are there for movement, exercise, participation, not as future stars of whatever sport it may be. How passionate are you about ensuring this is a space for all children to have their journey?
This that has to be the space. It has to be the foundation, um, of being active, being physical, having that mental well-being for physical and like that emotional side of things. I'm a big believer in that foundation for sport for children is like huge. Like that's where it all starts. That's where your passion comes from. That's where you like exercise and get moving. You don't set out to be an international sports star, whatever sport that might be. Like it comes from the beginning of just playing and being active. And for me, that's like everyone says, "Oh, is Olivia going to be a rugby player?" I'm like, I don't. She may well be a rugby player. I don't mind if she is or she isn't. But my big driver is that she's active and she's enjoying what she does. She doesn't have to be good at it, but she just has to be out there doing stuff in this day and age where there's screen time, there's social media, there's consoles, there's so many things that keep you indoors on computers. No, this has got to be the time that child first mentality time has to be get out there, do something, be active, because that's where everything will lead on from there. And it may not be um international elite professional sport, but it just may get you interested in a hobby, to be active, to go do your park run or go do your CrossFit or your high roxes or whatever it may be, just because that's going to give the population a much better outlook on life, being active for your physical and your mental well-being. And it all starts from the experiences and the exposures children get at that young age.
How much do you see the other side of that now in your friends who perhaps you went to school with who hated PE, and now as adults they're really sedentary and they can't find their way back into sport, exercise, movement of any kind?
It's like it's right up there. Like my friends that are active are the ones that in adult life are those that have been involved with sport. Um, those that, especially young girls that did PE because they had to, did nothing else after it. That they're the ones that yo-yo on. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to go to the gym. Then I'm not. Then I'm and then they don't have probably a healthy relationship with being active. And it doesn't have to be like going and playing five-a-side every week. It's just a means of how you can go outdoors, get some like fresh air, get something into you, go to the gym on a regular basis, And I think that starts from having a healthy relationship with sport and exercise from a young age. And the way you do that is by, I guess, having play their way. My approach to their sport, like having a coach that encourages all those areas that actually that journey for a child and a young person, it's all right for them to explore, to find out what they like, what they don't like, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. The brilliant thing about sport is there is so much out there for every young child that actually there should be something that everyone gets something out of. Like dancing, it might be more applicable to some than others. Like there's something there to be active if they've got the right person that will encourage them, that will listen to them, that will support them, to want to stay active, to want to stay within physical activity.
You've coached a lot in the East Midlands, and I know that that's meant girls who perhaps come from backgrounds where they've not traditionally been engaged in sport or encouraged to be involved in sport. How important has self advocacy been for those girls in those environments for you?
It's huge, you know. Like I've gone into one of my first coaching roles was a community rugby coach with the RFU, and we'd go into some areas where they had no outdoor space, there was no grass, they had limited indoor space in a sports hall to be able to do stuff. And I think that was also a really like I guess a defining moment of going, well, these girls won't have sport, won't be encouraged to do sport at home. Like it might be that they've got no parental support that will do that, or it's maybe their religion or ethnicity that doesn't necessarily encourage women to be active in sport. So like I felt in that half an hour window, it was my responsibility to ensure that there was a way that they were seen, they were heard, they were encouraged. Some of them were so unbelievably talented, and it was just giving them that confidence to say, actually, you're really good at this, you can do it. Like, and it's hard because you only get that window with them. But if I could do anything that might be small to encourage them to maybe have a conversation at home to say, oh, can I do something that fits within whatever it might be that they're able to do or not do, or encourage a parent to take them along to a club on a Saturday morning, or a relative or a friend or something, because they've had a taste of it, and they can then go home and maybe have that voice at home to say, I've really enjoyed doing this. Is there a way that we can do it? Or it might be a voice that they can say in school that can go to a teacher and say, oh, can we do more of this? Or I've really enjoyed doing PE, can I do more of it? Or like finding a way for them to, I guess, you know, like have that self-confidence to keep being active and to know that they do have that choice of what it is that they take part in and what they don't take part in. And if that would only be at school, and then that is a barrier that they've broken down. So when they do maybe get an opportunity later on in life on their sport journey, that actually they've had a moment that they know that they've enjoyed, and that they can feel that actually it's something that they want to go and try and do more of.
How much do you think that the strategy and the concept of play their way is going to unlock girls in areas like that?
I think it's huge because it's understanding and hearing them when they might say they don't want to get sweaty, or they don't want to tackle, for example, in rugby. Prime example, a lot of the schools I went into, they didn't want to do contact. Fine. Like, it's one of the first things you'd go in and like, oh, we're going to do rugby. Like, anyone played it for? No, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do contact. I'm like, fine. We don't have to do contact. That's no problem. We've got plenty of other ways to do rugby, enjoy it, have fun. That doesn't involve getting tackled to ground. And then they're like, ah, and then you play games with them, you see it, and so therefore you're hearing them, you're hearing their voice, you're giving them a choice of an alternative, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this rugby, that's quite good, and like there's all sorts of different formats of rugby, which is great. But some of them in that group might go, oh, I want to do a bit of contact. Oh, brilliant. Well, there's a rugby club here. Like, I'll come along, we'll go and we'll join that. So all the framework that it is, it's really important, I think, especially in young people, and the nature of how young people are these days. Gone are the days of 30, 40 years ago where one size fits all for everyone. It doesn't work like that. So this framework, play their way concept to frame your coaching is, I think, fundamental, especially in girls, because they're the biggest dropout. They're the ones that are the most concerned about what they look like, how they feel, especially at that teenager age. Whereas if we can adapt our coaching style to ensure that actually it's relevant and purposeful and encourages them to stay involved in sport, I think it could have a game-changing effect to participation rates within young girls in this country. I genuinely think that.
What a positive note to end on. Sarah, thank you so much for your time, and from everybody at Play Their Way, the best of luck for the Rugby World Cup for your team later this year.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to share it with someone who you think might like it too. And follow Play Their Way on social media at Play Their Way on TikTok, X and LinkedIn, and at Play Their Way UK on Facebook and Instagram. See you soon.